Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you're calling me from. My name is Dr. Obioramba Ibobeze, reaching you from Nkolo Mahadum. Today's date in Igbo calendar is Eke n'ọnwa Agwụ, ọnwa nke ise n'arọ ọnụnwa anyị nọ na ya. Again, today's date in Igbo calendar, which is lunar calendar, is Eke Market Day. N'ọnwa Agwụ. Ọnwa Agwụ is the fifth month in the lunar calendar, while in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is June 11th, 2024. Thank you for joining me at Nkolo Mahadum. Like we promised you, we package lectures that you don't even remember. Package them and present them for you in Biafran and African perspective. Not the way somebody from another race will interpret the information. The way we interpret information to you is the way an African is supposed to interpret that information. And that's why we have come today again to continue with our lecture. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, like our program, comment so that we know how you're feeling. The title of today's lecture is that human beings are the ones destroying and building and are the gods we have on the earth. In today's world, human beings are one of the species that is living in this world. And they are the one destroying the world, building and doing things that no other person can do for you. And so that's why we have come today to explain how and why we are doing so. The world we live in is an ecosystem. And an ecosystem is a system that environments and the organisms form through their interaction. Everything you see on this earth, both the trees, both the animals, the birds, and the rocks, those below the ground, everything interacting together is what is called the ecosystem. And in that environment, the environment in the ecosystem means natural environment or world containing all living and non-living things occurring naturally. And organisms, the organisms in the ecosystem, in the world, is defined as anything, any living thing that functions as an individual. And in that ecosystem, you also have the biotic and the abiotic components. The biotic and abiotic components are linked together through their nutrient cycles and energy flows. The biotics are biological derived materials that originates from living organisms. They have carbon and can decay. Examples of biotic materials include wood, straw, crude oil, bone, etc. Also, you should know that the earliest form of life on Earth in the ecosystem dates as far back as 3.5 billion years ago. That's when the evidence of life of any form was observed on this Earth. About 3.5 billion years ago. That's way, 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 way far back. The abiotic components are non-living chemicals and physical parts of the environment. Those that don't have life, the non-living things, those are the abiotic components that affect the living organisms and the functioning of the ecosystem. The abiotic components include something like water, light, rain, soil, humidity, and so on and so forth. Ecosystem is controlled by external and internal factors. Some of the external factors that controls the ecosystem, the world we live in, are climate. You often hear about climate changes or climatic changes, right? Parent materials, which forms the soil and topography, and others. Those are the external factors that controls the ecosystem. We also have the internal factors. The internal factors, which are the things happening inside the ecosystem, inside the system, includes the composition, the composition of leaves and human beings and other living organisms. Root competition, that's how the roots from the trees compete for survival, root competition, because below the ground, all the trees you see compete for nutrients to survive. Also, shading, that is how the trees shade their leaves, how the snakes shade their skins, and other animals and living things that shade part of their bodies, as well as the species living in that ecosystem. Those are the ones that are classified as the internal factors that controls the earth, the world, the ecosystem, as you may call it. And so that brings us now to, when we talk about the species, one of the internal factors, of which the human beings are part of that internal factors. The question is, with every other living things and non-living things in this world, why do we see ourselves as destroying every other thing that is in the ecosystem? Why should we be the one? It is because of the fact that we have brain that makes us to think, to reason that we did this, we need roads, we need to build houses, we need to farm, to eat. And by engaging in those acts or actions, we are in turn destroying the ecosystem. We continue to destroy the ecosystem because we want to drive cars, we pollute the air, we emit gases. Because we want to drive cars, we produce the oil. And the oil companies, the refineries, they in turn produce all kinds of pollutions that forms the clouds, as we have discussed in our previous lecture. So because what differentiates human beings from every other animal, because we are all animal. The difference is that we have a larger brain that have more capacity to reason. So by reasoning, that's how we are able to be coming up with different things. And by coming up with different things, we are in turn also destroying other living things and non-living things in the ecosystem, which is in the world. Before we continue, we have to beg you again to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our program, share it, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms, so that anytime we present a new lecture, you're going to be the first to get it. It's very, very, very important. So continuing, as much as we destroy things for our own living, to satisfy our urge for good life, or whatever we call it as human beings, we also produce a lot of things. Like human beings have been producing a lot of things, going to so many places with airplane, with ships, with vehicles. And from our enormous thinking ability, because we can reason, because we human beings can reason, that's why we have been able to produce a lot of things in this world. And by so doing, Nkola Mahadum wants you to know that in this world we are, in this ecosystem, on this earth we are, the human beings you see are the gods we have in this world. There's no other God somewhere else. If somebody tells you there's God somewhere that will come and solve your problem, no. Human beings are the gods we have in this world, because before you are created, before you are found in the particular ecosystem that you are, the creator, the nature, have already given you everything you need to survive in that environment, in that ecosystem. So you do not expect any other help from any other being or any other person. You shouldn't. Because when a lion is in his or her ecosystem, nature have already bestowed the lion with everything he or she needs to survive. The same goes for all living things. The same thing goes with the trees. Any tree that you see germinating in an environment, nature have already provided that tree everything that tree needs to survive in that environment. If not, the tree will not grow. It will die because it doesn't have everything it needs to survive. So also are human beings. So nature have provided human beings everything you needed to survive in this world. Another thing that determines your success is the environment where you are. The environment where you are also contributes a very big chunk to how successful or unsuccessful you will be. Another factor that will also help you is your own hard work, your own effort, your own personal effort, and finally, the family that you are born into. So in essence, the family you are born into, your own personal effort, and the environment where you are is what determines how successful you will be. Nobody comes from anywhere to help you to be anything that you want to be. No. Get that kind of reasoning off your brain as an African. Nobody anywhere. No God anywhere. No Jesus anywhere is coming to help you. Only your family, your personal efforts, the environment where you are, and human beings are the ones to help you. Most importantly, hold your government responsible. They are the one in charge of all the money coming in your environment, in your state, in your country, in your continent. They are the one in charge of all the resources. And so, like we promised you at Nkola Mahadum, we're going to be keeping everything short. So the takeaway from today's lecture is that in the world we live in, which we call the ecosystem, there are so many things that is in that ecosystem, both living and non-living things. And that's how the system maintains itself. We have the external factors and the internal factors. Humans are one of the internal factors that influences or controls the earth, the ecosystem. It's humans that controls it. It's one of them. But amongst all the animals, amongst all the species in the world, humans are the ones that are making decisions about who gets what goes to who. It's been made by man, not by any other person. Somebody telling you there's somebody, God somewhere or anything somewhere to come and help you to do this. No. Move away from that kind of thinking. That's a lie. And like we said, we should be bringing our lectures very, very short so you can listen to it and reason. What makes human beings different from other animals is our ability to reason. So if you cannot reason and you have been living in this world and experiencing things going on and you still cannot reason, then you blame yourself. And with this, Nkola Mahadum will be bringing this lecture to an end. But before we do, we must beg you again to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our programs. Follow it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. And most importantly, also, support ESN, Eastern Security Network, which was set up to drive away all the Fulani terrorist herdsmen, Fulani herdsmen terrorists in our farmlands, forests, and bushes, because that is where they launch attacks from to kill our people, so that our people can go to the farm, produce food. We need to be self-sufficient in food production so that all of us can have a lot of food on our tables. And with this, Nkola Mahadum will be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining us. Please don't fail to subscribe. Follow us on social media platforms so that you can always get our lectures and reason. The most important thing that makes human beings separate from every other thing on this earth, from every other living thing on this earth, is our ability to reason. Thank you again for joining us, and wait again for another fascinating and improved lecture coming up in our next lecture. Thank you very much for joining us today, and have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.